Hello everyone, Lawrence here with the single most exciting and perhaps single most important PC product launch in the last 4 years or so. Today we're looking at AMD's brand new Zen CPUs. Now I bought this one, the Ryzen 7 1700 non-X model. I will however be also comparing it to the 1700X and the 1800X. I'll be telling why you should and should not buy it because you have already seen all the marketing materials, but who knows what all those fancy words are. I'll also be overclocking it using the stock cooler and some upgraded stuff. The 1700 is the most affordable Ryzen CPU that you can buy today. However, it still has 8 cores, 16 threads, it has a base clock of 3 GHz, it can precision boost to 3.7, and in general I really like how AMD releases the high-end stuff first, while Intel makes you wait for their high-end desktop platform. AMD is going to release their Ryzen 5 and 3 chips with hexa-cores and quad-cores later this year. The other Ryzen CPUs that you can buy today are the 1700X and the 1800X. Those are clocked at 3.4 and 3.6 GHz. They boost from 3.8 to 4 GHz. Now, I'm not going to talk about pricing because that varies greatly from region to region, so if you want to know the price for these CPUs, just go ahead and look at your local reseller or Amazon. The only really important thing with the price is that AMD claims to have the same performance as Intel at only half the price. So let's see if that is true. As far as I'm aware, all Ryzen 7 chips are the exact same die. However, the X models feature something called XFR or extended frequency range. This basically means that your CPU can clock itself and even overclock itself depending on power delivery and cooling performance. While this is an amazing feature to have if you're particularly lazy about overclocking, it's something most of us won't really need because we'll just overclock it ourselves. XFR is also why these X chips do not come with a stock cooler. The non-X model does come with the Raid Spire CPU cooler, which even has RGB lighting. The Raid cooler is genuinely good. It's a full aluminium heatsink with a copper core on the inside that contacts your CPU. It has a really nice thick fan and, as I mentioned, RGB lighting because it is 2017. For those wondering, you can rotate the fan shroud to make the AMD logo line up no matter what orientation your motherboard or your socket is in. This is what my testing setup looks like. You can see the entire build by clicking the card in the top right corner. I overclocked all 8 cores to 3.8 GHz using just the stock Raid Spire cooler, and I got temperatures of 86 degrees Celsius on the core, which is as high as I wanted to go. Increasing clock speeds is as easy as just setting the multiplier and adding a little bit of voltage. You can increase this multiplier in 0.25 increments, which is great for doing some precision tuning to really get the most performance out of a certain voltage. To really push the 1700, I then switched my CPU cooler for a Noctua NHD15. And this is where I became a little bit disappointed, but in a good way. You see, I talked to other reviewers and it seems like 4 GHz is about as high as a Ryzen CPU with 8 cores will do on all 8 cores at the moment. Mine got that 4 GHz at 1.415 volt, which is basically as high as you want to go. You see, going any higher just creates excessive heat without really much of a performance increase, and you're just adding ridiculous voltage to your chip. In the end, I ended up going with just 3.9 GHz at only 1.35 volts, which meant everything was super cool, incredibly quiet, but we're not really sacrificing any performance whatsoever. With my overclock, I nearly got 1700 points in Cinebench multi-threaded. Now I will run some other benchmarks over your screen right now. There is a lot of talk about how it doesn't really perform well in just 1080p gaming. However, that's because, well, developers have just been focusing on Intel chips with 2 or 4 cores for the last 5 years. And so I'm really sure that in the future that performance deficit for AMD Ryzen 1080p gaming will improve as developers actually spend some time with these chips. So then why should you buy the 1700? Well, it's amazing. It's much cheaper than all the other SKUs out there. Plus it comes with a really good CPU cooler included, which the other more expensive models don't come with. Performance is on par with Intel's high-end desktop chips at half the price of the Intel chips. And once you start overclocking this thing, again with the included cooler, no extra cost, performance is just amazing. However, if you're just a gamer, like you only play video games, you don't ever stream, you don't ever make videos, you don't ever export pictures or do anything that can take advantage of all those threads, perhaps you should go with an X model because that XFR will push 2 or 3 or 4 cores slightly further from 4 to maybe 4.4 GHz if you're lucky with the chip. Overall, I'm incredibly happy with my purchase, and I really can't wait to do more Ryzen builds and just play around with these chips a bit more. Now, with all this talk about performance, there has been some fuzz about memory speeds with Ryzen. Basically, people got really used to those 3000 MHz speeds with their Intel chips, but Intel chips really need those 3000 MHz, and they don't really care about latency. Ryzen is much more peculiar about latency and less about what speed you're running it at. So my advice to you guys would be to just buy 2133 sticks with like CL12, CL13, something like that, and that will give you amazing performance. Also about memory, and this gets me super excited, and it should get you excited as well, especially if you're into ZFS or just storage servers or just basically really stable video encoding. Ryzen CPUs, no matter which one, they support ECC memory, and that is amazing because Intel doesn't do it, and it's just a great way to be.
The Gravekeeper has taken a tower. Take the altars and put an end to the Gravekeeper. A good kill.
This one, Raven. It will not be your last. You will fall. This is the way of the Nexus.
Bluster. And for what?
I'm listening.
Let's sack this fort!
Titans.
That's it! Take out that hero!
I'm here.
More stable no matter what you're doing. Now, you saw my build, I did not go with ECC memory, and the only reason is that my reseller didn't have any in stock, and I wanted to be pretty quick with these videos. Now, a third hot topic is the price of the X370 chipset, and this is because a lot of people seem to forget that AMD positions the X370 chipset somewhere between Z270 and X99, and you can see that in the amount of PCI lanes and all that sort of stuff. However, if you don't need a couple of extra USB ports and you don't need to go with SLI or Crossfire, which I don't recommend ever going with anyway, something like the B350 chip will do exactly the same. And still, you can overclock your chip with a B350 motherboard. So realistically, buy the X board if you really want to show off and you just want the best of the best. For anyone else, and if you're somewhat budget conscious, just go with a B350 motherboard. So to conclude, I'm super excited with my purchase. I saw a lot of you people are excited about it as well, especially looking at the comments in my videos. Overall, my purchasing advice is if you only ever play video games, don't go Ryzen. if you do go Ryzen, get an X chip with XFR so you can overclock those 2 or 3 cores. If you do anything other than playing video games, like you're streaming, you're editing videos, if you're a YouTuber for example, go ahead, get the 1700 and a cheap B350 motherboard, use the stock cooler to overclock it to 3.9 GHz and you'll be performing incredibly well for almost no money, especially when compared to Intel chips. Anyway guys, if you like this video, please press that like button. If you didn't, hit that subscribe button for when I make a video that you do like. And if you want more frequent updates, there's Facebook, Twitter and Instagram for that. You can get gorgeous pictures of CPUs and CPU coolers. If you want to really support this channel, there's a Patreon page for that. For now, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hello everyone, Lawrence here with another video. Today we're looking at a tiny little computer which almost makes me feel bad about Project One. So this is the Zotac Magnus EN1060. Inside of this little black box the size of an ITX motherboard, there's a Skylake CPU, the 6400T, so that's a 2.8 GHz CPU, quad core in here. And then we also have a desktop class 6GB NVIDIA GTX 1060. So before I even start talking about the amazing performance or the great port selection, I'm going to talk about build quality. So it's an aluminium frame, and like the sides are actually aluminium. And sure, the top is like this matte black plastic with like a glossy circle on top of it. And then there's also a glossy front panel, but it's really well built and I would have no problems whatsoever just chucking it in a backpack, carrying it around with me. So build quality is very good. Now, I'm not a big fan of the way it looks, and I think this chassis has been around for quite a while. Perhaps Zotac should freshen it up a little bit so that it can compete with some of the competition, like the Asus GR8 for example, which in my opinion looks quite a lot better. This is a very simple, understated design, but perhaps a little bit outdated looking. So on the front we have our power button, SD card reader, dual USB 3.1 Gen 1 ports. One of them is a Type-C connector, but it's just a Gen 1 port. And then we also have our audio in and out, so our microphone and our headphones at the front, which I really like. Now, going to the back, there's more ports. So we have dual gigabit Ethernet connections, and I'm a massive fan of that because it means you can either go with multi-channel SMB or you can just hook up like a NAS to it separately. That's great to have those dual gigabit Ethernet ports. What's not so great, and perhaps another small negative, is the Wi-Fi. There's only a single antenna, and the Wi-Fi performance is a bit on the low side. So it doesn't perform very well wirelessly, but then who cares when you have dual gigabit Ethernet ports. On the back are also another dual USB 3.0 ports, dual USB 2.0 ports, dual HDMI ports, and dual display ports. So you can hook up 4 displays to it and just go with a sweet surround gaming setup if you really want to. So I did mention at the start of the video that this is a bare bones computer. So I put some memory in there from Corsair, just cheap ass memory sticks, and I also put an old SSD in that I had laying around, and then after a week that SSD broke. Probably not at all the fault of the Z-Box, it was like a 5-year-old SSD. So for these B-roll shots I did put a hard drive in there. So installing the drives or your memory is completely toolless, it's super easy. Anyone can do it. There's just 2 tiny little thumb screws at the back. You just slide the bottom off and you just put your drives in. Everything's completely toolless. I really love it. It's basically about as easy as it could possibly be. So moving on to my own testing, I actually replaced Project One for a whole 2 weeks with the Z-Box. And I only used this computer for everything that I did, including video editing, also some gaming, because at first you would think, okay, it's a Z-Box with a GTX 1060, it's a gaming PC, and it's small so we can put it on our television. So that's what I did at first. I just hooked it up to a TV, and because it doesn't come with an operating system, you're completely free to go with SteamOS, Linux, Windows, whatever you want you can put on there without spending money on a Windows license if you're not going with Windows. So that's great about it. So I first ran it on my TV, played some games there, and then I was like, yeah, but this computer is capable of so much more than just being an HD PC that I occasionally play Rocket League on. So I replaced Project One with this one, which was an interesting experience because while you may think that the 6400T is a bit slow, and you'd probably be right, the GTX 1060 is actually plenty fast for triple monitor gaming, so I'll show some performance graphs right now, but all you really have to know is that a GTX 1060 is plenty fast to run whatever you want at high to ultra settings on 1080p 60 FPS. Esports titles, I easily got my 120 FPS, so that was all I wanted.
Of course.
Editing videos was perhaps not as great, probably because of the older SSD that I had in there, and of course 2.8 GHz quad-core isn't the fastest CPU out there. But hopefully they'll update it with Kaby Lake. I would really like to see an i7 version, or maybe even a Ryzen version, who knows, of the Z-Box, but for now it's actually pretty decent and it's a very nice package. It all works together quite well. And that brings me to my next point, the power consumption. So this CPU, the 6400T, only uses about 35 watts, or at least that's its DDP. So it's pretty easy to cool. And a 1060 uses a little bit more than that, but it's still very well cooled. So there's a side exhaust and a rear exhaust. The side exhaust is for the CPU, the rear exhaust is the GPU. And what really struck me was how quiet this system is. So unless if it's under full load, you can't possibly hear that it's on, which is, to me at least, incredibly important with a computer, because I don't want to be distracted with some fan noise. And this one's completely silent, unless if you're going with maximum load scenarios for a prolonged period of time, but even then, it's very quiet. Temperatures are also great, so it's not trolling at all. We were getting low 70s on both the CPU and the GPU, so no throttling. The GPU was easily boosting to 1911 megahertz on the core, so that was great as well. Overall, I really can't complain about anything with the Z-Box. So while I would really like to just keep the Z-Box and keep using it as my main computer, I have to give it back to Zotac. I really want to thank Zotac for lending me this unit, because to me it's very interesting. If we just compare it size-wise to a home-built ITX PC, it's way smaller. It's just the size of an ITX motherboard. Price-wise, you're paying around a €100 premium for the 1060 model and a €200 premium for the 1070 model if you're comparing it to building it yourself. But then once you go to like proper ITX small cases like a Dank case, a Sentry, that sort of stuff, it's about the same price. So it's perhaps less upgradable, but it's still way smaller than anything you can build yourself. And as I said, that makes it super easy to just throw it in your backpack, carry it with you. For example, if you have divorced parents, you have a monitor at each parent's house, easy to take with you. If you want to use it at home, use it at work, and you just take your computer with you, again, it works perfectly for that. So overall conclusion is, it's a great performer, it's priced correctly, it's perhaps a tiny little bit outdated looking, and the single Wi-Fi antenna is not great, but it's super quiet, it plays games very well, it's capable enough for video editing, great networking, wired networking as well with the multi-channel SMB possibilities that we have here, and overall great little device. Anyway guys, if you liked this video, please press that like button. If you didn't, hit that subscribe button for when I make a video that you do like. Now, if you want to support the channel like the awesome people on your screen right now, there's a Patreon page for that. For now, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys next week with a video on probably a laptop or a computer case which is still under NDA. Cheers! Hey guys, Lawrence here, and this is a really weird angle because I want to get on the other side of the motherboard. So this is the Gigabyte Aorus AX370 Gaming 5 motherboard. I also have this baby. Ryzen is finally here, which is why I did not take too much time setting up, because I want to get straight to building. But I can't build it in a computer case just yet because all my computer cases are still under NDA. So anyway, I'm going to get to the other side. Let's get started. I've got a 1700, I've got the Aorus Gaming 5 board, and I've got some HyperX memory. Right then, I can finally get to building on the Gaming 5 board by Aorus. It's been since the 8120 that I built a high-end AMD system because I was super disappointed with it. I wasn't cold because my room was on fire whenever I had a bulldozer chip on, but anyway, it's been so long since I've done AMD. I like how the stick just stands up and doesn't fall over like with the Intel boards.